But Cass, we were talking about it before we came on air, about some of these games that just have that feeling, and obviously everyone will think this, because especially when it's your team you're talking about, that there's something riding on it. But there are a few games in particular that you feel if the results don't go the way of that particular team, could be a riot as such.
I would add there's a few games that meltdown could get even worse. If you look at Leicester, Man City, and if Leicester got a result, that meltdown at City. I'd also add in Tottenham against Wolves as another meltdown scenario, where Tottenham are playing a team at the bottom who have won back-to-back games. Yeah. But if they were to lose at home today, and I'm going to the game, Spurs versus Wolves, I'll be there.
Take your tin hat, just in case.
Take your tin hat. And you could add in tomorrow, Man United take on Newcastle, and if Newcastle got a result, they're all ifs, but it feels like there's a possibility of some big meltdowns because some clubs, especially the three I just mentioned, have had dreadful seasons, as in Man City, Spurs and Manchester United. What's happened to them this year so far, and disgruntled fans, who are seeing their sides, who are big clubs, all of them. It doesn't be a good Christmas or New Year sort of results, because they are falling so short of what expectation is.
Of those sort of teams that you're thinking that fans could go into a further meltdown, is there one perhaps manager that there's more pressure on than any of the others?
I think Postecoglou for me.
Yeah? Even more so than Pep?
Yes, because look, Pep's in the papers today and he's talking about that he's staying whatever. And I think he feels like he has to roll up his sleeves and prove a point that he can change the fortunes of this football club, which is City. Where I think Postecoglou is battling against fans who are not agreeing, or a lot of people in the media, and like he talks about, that they're not buying into his plan and he's not really caring. But if you was to get beaten by Wolves at home today, I don't see anything but a meltdown from the Tottenham fans, because they've started to change their feeling. They recognise, like all sports fans, football fans know way more than they used to. They have so much more information, and they've looked at their team and they can see that Tottenham are too easy to play against. And unless they change, Tottenham are not going to get any success at all. You have to be, to win things, very hard to play against. You only have to look at goals against column, goals for, the points that you have achieved along the way, how difficult you are to break down. They all mean something, that. And Tottenham, you can look at their numbers whatever way you want. The data is telling you that this team is too easy to play against. Yes, they can score loads of goals, but it's a dangerous game for them. Wolves are absolutely perfect to counter the Spurs and getting behind them. Cunha's dangerous, getting in behind teams. Larson leads the line decently well. I just think that is potential to be a bit of a meltdown today. Tottenham have nearly got their first team out, apart from the goalkeeper and the two centre-halves. It's Tottenham's sort of very close to their best team.
Well, yes, we were talking about that yesterday, weren't they? I mean, defensively, they do have issues.
Yeah, it's two centre-halves.
Yes, with Romero and Van de Ven.
And others.
Available, yes. Yeah. And we saw, obviously, we mentioned it before, against Forest, in the end, Ange Postecoglou had to go with Yves Bissouma and Archie Gray as those makeshift centre-halves. So he is, in that sense, dealing with a bit of a patched-up team when it comes to the defence. But yes, you're absolutely right about the rest of the team. The other issue, of course, he has is there are some players that are just out of form. Like Son, we've talked about him a few times. He's just not at the level that we would expect from Son.
No. Look, he's been brilliant for Spurs over the years. And is this a period of his career he's just slightly off his game and he's not being so productive as he has been over the seasons? I think there's still some life in Son at Spurs, but it's got to be, second part of the season's got to be good for him. He's got to produce a lot more goals. And also he's wore the captain's armband at times, hasn't he? He's captain, but, you know, and he's been taken off. When captains get taken off, there's always something a bit, you wonder if their days are sort of numbered. He gets substituted quite a lot now. You've seen Maddison go through this as well, where he gets subbed more often than not. And you're not quite sure if he's in Postecoglou's best 11. And there's moments he said he's absolutely got to be in their team. So it's I think a few strange things have been happening in the lineup. And he's a manager that's going to be battling against the Spurs faithful, because you get beat today and it's a completely different scenario, because it's continued the bad form is just, you're not even looking at Europe. You're just basically looking at a mid-table team.
Yes. So Tottenham coming into this game then against Wolves in 12th. They could finish in the top half of the table to end 2024 on a better note if results were to go their way, of course. But not in the best of form, having lost their last two and taking on a Wolves side who are resurgent under their new manager. They're out of the relegation zone for the first time in quite a while. And in those two victories, Cass, they haven't even conceded a goal. Oh. When you consider they had the worst defence of any team.
I'm going to check later the last time they went back to back-to-back games, no conceded goals, 2 games in a row.
Well, they have done that.
No, I'm saying, when was the time before?
Oh, I see.
How long ago? I mean, this period.
Don't have far to go back.
No.
I see
this period now, where they've had back-to-back games without conceding. Yes. When did that happen before in the Premier League? Because I think you'd have to go back quite a while. But I'm going to have a look a little bit later.
Well, yeah. Certainly this is the first time in this league season that they've had consecutive shutouts. So, yes. Good luck with that research.
No, it's not really research, is it? I'm just checking because sometimes you have to think, like that in itself, winning back-to-back games and then keeping 2 clean sheets of a side that couldn't keep, they were doing well if they didn't concede 2 or more.
Oh, I know. Quite incredible to have those 2 clean sheets. That's a massive confidence booster for this Wolves team taking on a Tottenham side that are a little bit in disarray. One other game that I think, just quickly to mention before we hit the break, and we will go into more detail on a lot of these games coming your way today, but you were sort of saying of all the games, that's a bit of a bank of a draw. You were thinking which one?
Everton Forest.
Why are you so set on it being a draw?
The way that, Everton have had 3 draws on the spin, haven't they? So I'm looking at them and thinking, well, they're a real tough nut to crack now. Sort of Dyche has got his side out where he's pretty confident they can get something out of a game. And I thought that at City that, they're capable of getting something. It's a tough game for Forest, even though they've been flying. It's a great little piece, by the way, in the paper. It's only a small bit in the Mail, and it talks about Nuno's Forest and how they've bonded from the team to the staff and the team. Right. And then he talks about their victory in the last game of the season away at Burnley to keep them in the Premier League.
Right.
And the bonding's continued there, and they sat down and had a great chat. And I remember that from my own career of a big moment, even though it was survival and they won their final game at Burnley to stay in the Premier League. What we've seen after has been incredible. And it's quite interesting. Them, like Everton, are really tough to beat.
Yeah.
Okay? So I just feel it looks a stonewall draw for me. It just does.
Well, look, we'll talk about that one, I'm sure, in more detail a little bit later on. Forest, one of the surprise packages, of course, this season. They will end 2024 in the top 4, regardless of what happens in their game at Everton and with the other results as well.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.